Remember when O.J. Simpson played the race card to get off that murder rap? The whole country was in shock, but it worked. It worked. You know, in a weird way, in a very weird way, because I think O.J. Simpson did it, to be sure, but he was fighting for his freedom. Would have been nice if he pleaded guilty, but that was an extreme time for him. So he played the race card. It was very unusual. It was shocking to everybody, but he did it. Now, the race card is being played every time you turn around, and not for matters of life and death, for little things, power, money, status, maybe a little bit of payback. Oh yeah, it's everywhere all the time. In the courtroom, in Congress, on the ball field. Have you heard about this? So we've got on the left, that's Tim Anderson, shortstop for the White Sox, and on the right, Josh Donaldson, third base for the Yankees. These guys have had a feud going for, I don't know exactly how long. They may be friends. Here's what I have to point out. In 2019, Tim Anderson said the following. This is all going to make sense in a moment. He said this to Sports Illustrated. I kind of feel like today's Jackie Robinson. That's huge to say, but it's cool, man, because he changed the game. And I feel like I'm getting to a point to where I need to change the game. And he talked about making the game more fun, maybe a little bit more about the individual. Okay, you compare yourself to Jackie Robinson, that's kind of a big deal, right? Because Jackie Robinson, if you don't mind, was a legend, right? Jackie Robinson, he broke the color barrier. And to this day, people revere, of course, Jackie Robinson. I actually kind of like the New York Mets. If you go to Citi Field where they play, there is an entire museum dedicated to a guy who was never on the Mets, Jackie Robinson. All right, so this little statement led to, no kidding, an all-out brawl between the White Sox and the Yankees just the other day. I mean, it was pretty intense. All the benches cleared, and there was pushing and shoving. So here's what we think happened. Tim Anderson suddenly got a chip on his shoulder about being called Jackie Robinson. He didn't like it. All of a sudden, being compared to one of the greatest baseball players of all time, a hero to so many, regardless of race, became pejorative, became racist. That's what Tim Anderson is saying in the locker room, at least.
He just made a, disrespectful comment. Basically was, trying to call me Jackie Robinson. Like, what's up, Jackie? I don't play like that. And I don't really play at all. I wasn't really, bothering nobody today. But he made a comment, and it was disrespectful, and I don't think it was called for. It was unnecessary.
You call it disrespectful. Tony just said it was racist. Is that accurate?
Yeah, same along that same line. Yeah.
I don't get it at all. How is it racist? How is it? Look, if I call myself Walter Cronkite in some interview, and for the next 10 years, people make fun of me, calling me Walter Cronkite, I could take that. I'd actually deserve it. That's a pretty wild comparison to make. Listen to Josh Donaldson's explanation for all of this. All right, Josh Donaldson made the comment. This apology, this should be accepted. Any reasonable society would make sense of this and say, okay, we get it now.
2019, he came out with an interview, said that he's the new Jackie Robinson of baseball. He's going to bring back fun for the game, right? And 2019, when I played for Atlanta, we actually joked about that on the game. I don't know what's changed and I've said it to him in years past, not in any manner than just joking around for the fact that he called himself Jackie Robinson, So, if something has changed from that, like my meaning of that is not any term trying to be racist.
Of course it's not. I understand. I think Mr. Anderson understands. Everybody understands. Just listen to this, right? It makes sense. Listen to the manager of the White Sox. These guys, man, 85% of them stopped growing in high school, all right? These professional athletes, you can have them. Listen to what he says.
You made a racist comment, Donaldson, and that's all I'm going to say.
That's pretty strong.
That's as strong as it gets.
Strong as it gets, or maybe not anymore, because if everything is racist, then nothing is racist. Guess what? Major League Baseball, gone woke. Of course they did, and they suspended Josh Donaldson. Just in. There is no dispute over what was said on the field, regardless of Mr. Donaldson's intent. The comment he directed toward Mr. Anderson was disrespectful and in poor judgment. You know it was in poor judgment? When Major League Baseball moved the All-Star game from Atlanta to Colorado because of the Georgia voting law. Do you remember that nonsense? You know, Donaldson, in explaining himself, mentioned, he asked the question, I don't know what changed. I don't know what changed. Well, here's an idea. Society was turned upside down by Black Lives Matter summer, right? Right is wrong, wrong is right, everything is different. And criminality, of course, has been somehow legitimized. Smash and grab operations, this is okay. This is, payback for all the systemic racism. I mean, yeah, cops delegitimize. They're part of the problem. This is what happened. And too many people are taking advantage of this moment, whether it's a petty payback or a grab for what should be unreachable power. We have a big problem in America and a big problem here in New York City. Take a look at them.
I'm a black man, that's the mayor. But my story has been interpreted by people that don't look like me. How many blacks are in the editorial boards? How many blacks are determining how these stories are being written? I say that to all your owners of your papers, your editorials, diversify your newsroom so I can look out and see people that look like me.
This is about as racist as it gets, judging people, what they look like, not on what's the inside, or what they're actually saying or writing. This mayor's been in office for, 4 months, and he's incompetent. He loves to party. He doesn't like to work. Here he is on a school night hanging out with Cara Delevingne at the club. Came into office, said he was a crime fighter. He doesn't know how. He never did. Take a look at our crime numbers. They are up and getting worse, worse, worse. Over the weekend, a man was shot on the subway. He was on his way to brunch with friends. It happened at 11:30 in the morning, and a deranged maniac came up and shot him. Dead. His family heartbroken, obviously, and they made a plea to the media, actually, to try to get Mr. Mayor to do his job. Do your job. I wish you guys would go back to Mayor Adams and tell him the city is not safe. My brother just became a statistic on the way to the city, on the way to Manhattan, where he was going to have brunch. But this is not raining on Eric Adams' parade. No, as you heard, he's a black man, and he doesn't like the way people are talking about him, and he doesn't like the way people look different from him. And where is he going to take this mentality? To the White House. To the White House. Eric Adams eyeing White House run in 2024. Eric thinks that he has a platform to run for national office, for president in 2024. He has said that repeatedly. He thinks New York is a national platform, a person close to the mayor said. Well, he's incompetent and has done absolutely nothing as mayor, so why not? It's been done before. He looks good. People like the way he sounds. I've seen this happening before, and so have you. Barack Obama guested the United States Senate in January of 2005. 2 years later, by the way, he starts running for president and actually gets to the presidency 4 years later. It's amazing. It's amazing. And this guy, Eric Adams, knows all the tricks. Guess who he learned them from? Al Sharpton. Yeah, when Eric was officially a New York City police officer, he was a professional agitator, spending all of his time with Al Sharpton, learning all about racism and how to use race as a weapon for power and for money. Now, Eric Adams doesn't hang out that much with Al Sharpton anymore, but you can't take the Al Sharpton out of Eric Adams. Listen to this.
Every day in the police department, I kicked those crackers' ass, man. I was unbelievable in the police department when he's one of the black law enforcement.
Crackers. Just call white people crackers. That's racist. But a lot of racists are winning. They're playing the race card, they're playing the victim card, and they're coming out ahead. Do you remember the Central Park Karen case? I hate the term Karen. It's nasty and mean, and it's unfair to white women. It's unfair to people named Karen. But this is what it was called. Do you remember?
There is an African-American man. I am in Central Park. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog.
So the Birdman of Central Park was recording her. This is Christian Cooper. taking her picture. Her name was Amy Cooper, no relation. The Birdman just got his own TV show. No kidding, yeah, on Nat Geo. Extraordinary Birder, hosted by lifelong New York City birder Christian Cooper. What's this all about? Well, lifelong birder Christian Cooper takes us into the wild, wonderful, and unpredictable world of birds. All right. Well, this is, I don't know, it's a payoff, it's a virtue signaling. The whole world was fed a big lie, a lot of fake news about this story. They all bought it, too.
A New York City woman has lost a high-level job in finance after a video of her racially charged confrontation with a black man went viral.
We all saw Amy Cooper in Central Park weaponizing her whiteness to call a police officer on a black man who was just watching birds.
Those cops could have showed up. His fate could have been similar as Mr. Floyd.
People need to understand there are consequences to your actions, and one of the consequences to this woman's action is she could have gotten this young man killed.
She literally weaponized his race and weaponized her privilege. She knew that by calling the police, it would be to her advantage.
So unfair, not only to this woman, because they haven't looked at all the evidence. I'll show you in a moment what really happened. But also to cops, as if cops are going to just show up, see the black man, and start blasting, right? That's how it works? Really? ABC television, that's how it works? Here's a little bit more from the interaction between Amy Cooper and Christian Cooper.
Would you please stop? Sir, I'm asking you to stop.
Please don't come close to me.
Sir, I'm asking you to stop recording me.
Please don't come close to me.
Please take your phone off.
Please don't come close to
And
me.
I'm taking a picture and calling the cops.
Please call the cops. Please call the cops.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Please tell them whatever you like.
There is an African-American man. I am in Central Park. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog. I'm sorry, I can't hear you either. I'm being threatened by a man in the ramble. Please send the cops immediately.
So she's pretty scared. Before we go canceling her, which is what they did, by the way, why was she so scared? Well, Christian Cooper on his Facebook page gives us a pretty big clue. So after this interaction, Christian Cooper goes home and he writes it up. This is before it became really famous. What happened? Christian Cooper actually helpfully gave us a transcript. Me, ma'am, dogs in the ramble have to be on the leash at all times. The sign is right there. The dog runs are closed. Her. He needs his exercise. Next. Me. All you have to do is take him to the other side of the drive, outside the ramble, and you can let him run off the leash all you want. Her. It's too dangerous. Okay? Look, if you're going to do what you want, I'm going to do what I want, but you're not going to like it. What's that? Me to the dog. Come here, puppy. Totally creepy. Her. He won't come to you. Me. We'll see about that. Next. I pull out the dog treats I carry for just such intransigence. I didn't even get a chance to toss any treats to the pooch before Karen scrambled, nasty term there, to grab the dog. Next. Don't touch my dog. That's when I started video recording with my iPhone and when her inner Karen fully emerged and took a dark turn. In New York City and in many places, dogs are like children. And this stranger says, I'm going to do something to the dog and you won't like it, and lures the dog away with treats. That's threatening. That's weird. And he says he has these things for just such intransigence. Who made him the park ranger? Really? And what happened? She got arrested. She got arrested. And he gets a TV show. Now, I know she said, well, he's an African-American man. That makes it racist? Really? Does it? You could call 911. The first thing they want to know is the race of the person you're calling about. White, Asian, Hispanic, black. What kind of world are we living in? This is crazy stuff. For white women, to be sure. They've tried to neutralize you. They tried to shame you in this Karen moniker. They want to control the way you vote. Not just white women, though. White men, too. Very little status.
In case you haven't realized, it has somehow become necessary for old white men to tell me how to speak.
But it's not you. It's white men. They're a little fragile right now.
We've recently become aware of a foe so dastardly and so numerous that you might have one in your own home.
You probably guessed it by now. We're talking about old white men.
It's very fashionable. Very fashionable to make fun of certain people because of their race. White people. I think it's despicable to make fun of anyone over things they can't control. Anyone, no matter what their race, orientation, gender. Although you know who's taken this battle up in the ultimate sign of hypocrisy, national hypocrisy? Joe Biden. Joe Biden is he's now lecturing the country on matters of race.
And now, a rise of political extremism, white supremacy, domestic terrorism that we must confront and we will defeat. And we won't ignore what our intelligence agencies have determined to be the most lethal terrorist threat to the homeland today. White supremacy is terrorism. We're confronting the stains of what remains the deep stain on the soul of the nation: hate and white supremacy.
Just coming from him, highlighting something that isn't a problem, but just bad-mouthing America everywhere he goes. This guy, of all people, by the way, you know him, so do I.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It really is kind of funny. And Joe Biden's been around long enough, and he worked with some outright white supremacists in the United States Senate and beyond. Take a look at him with Strom Thurmond. Now, I know people had cordial relations with Strom, and apparently Strom kind of amended for a lot of his previous sins and bigoted views, but that's pretty darn cozy with Strom Thurmond. Joe, by the way, is in Asia. And the stakes are very, very high. I wonder, by the way, does President Xi run around China bad-mouthing the history of China? Now, I know it's a different culture and they aren't honest about their history in many respects, but there's got to be something between what they do and what we do, bad-mouthing the country all the time. Oh, and also Joe Biden, being Joe Biden overseas, made a hideous mistake.
You didn't want to get involved in the Ukraine conflict militarily for obvious reasons. Are you willing to get involved militarily to defend Taiwan if it comes to that?
Yes.
You are?
That's the commitment we made.
So he said that so readily, but he's wrong. The policy of the United States is, quite frankly, to not be that understood about our intents. It's called strategic ambiguity. Strategic ambiguity. You want to keep the world guessing. Everybody kind of knows what we're going to do, but you don't want to say it out loud because that could really get the other side mad. And Joe Biden should know this. After all, how much time did he spend with President Xi?
I've spent more time with Xi Jinping, at least before we got out, than any world leader has. I've traveled 17,000 miles with him, the president of China. I probably spent more time with Xi Jinping, I'm told, than any world leader has, because I had 24, 25 hours of private meetings with him when I was vice president, traveled 17,000 miles with him, and know him pretty well. I've spent more time with President Xi of China than any world leader has.
So if he knows him so well, why would he say something as irresponsible as he did now? Why is he trying to appear tough because President Xi knows something about Joe Biden? I think that's quite possible. President Xi, we looked it up, he does not go around bragging how well he knows Joe Biden. He doesn't have to. I think everybody knows that President Xi has Joe's number and may know a lot more than we do about all the business that happened over there.